Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the meeting of Wellington Shire Council on this, the 6th of August 2019. Could I remind you, where are we, Cheryl? Thanks. Members of the public gallery should note that the Council records and publishes Council's meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of Council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on Council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate time during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the Council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the Council meeting but who wish to communicate with the Council via the webcasting chat room should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please could gallery visitors and councillors and officers ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in the silent mode for the duration of the meeting. And if you could stand for the acknowledgement and the prayer. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai-Kurnai people, and pay respect to their elders past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Don't have any apologies, CEO?
No, mate.
Councillors, there are no declarations of or conflicts of interest? Moving on to item A4, confirmation of minutes of the previous council meeting. Councillor Bai.
Thanks, Mayor. I move the council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary council meeting of the 19th of July 2019.
Seconded by Councillor Rossetti.
16.
I'll second that too.
We got that right now?
Yes, we have it.
And that was, now the corrector has been seconded by Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Bai. Moving on, there's no business arising from previous meetings. No late items, CEO?
No.
No notices of motion. No outstanding petitions. Moving on to item A9, invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. Do we have anyone who wishes to make a contribution in this space other than me? So I do. I'm going to just take this opportunity from the seated position to just acknowledge that the Wedge and the Sail Theatre Company worked together to present Jesus Christ Superstar from the 19th to the 27th of July. This show has become the highest grossing amateur production ever to be presented at the Wedge, with some 1,941 patrons attending over 6 shows. What a sensational outcome. So well, that's a possibility, Councillor Rossetti. And it's fair to say that Councillor Darren McCubbin is a stalwart of the Sail Theatre Company, having served as President, Secretary and Treasurer on and off for over 3 decades. Darren undertook... I didn't think you were that old. So Darren undertook the show's director role for the Sail Theatre Company's highly successful On Our Selection last year when he added songs and a live band. So I'm told that this actually gave Darren the courage and perhaps he even had an epiphany to tackle a major musical with Jesus Christ Superstar this year, which has received wonderful positive feedback from many, many patrons, as well as becoming the highest attended and grossing show in Sail Theatre Company's history. And as a personal aside, I was there on the Saturday night and I thought it was absolutely outstanding. I think the word amateur should be deleted from the reference of this because it was as professional as a musical as I've seen in a very long time. A number of Wellington Shire staff, I'll get that right eventually, after I go and see Dr. Bruce at the Warrigal Dental Clinic, I think, to fix that up. A number of the staff from the Wedge volunteered on the show. So we had Melissa Forlano, Coordinator of Venue Administration. She volunteered as vocal coach and stage manager. Brendan Peters, Operations Coordinator, volunteered as Technical Director. Amy Veal, Arts and Culture trainee, volunteered as a cast member. And we had our usual plethora. We've been very generous with our words tonight, so thank you for the assistance. A plethora of paid ushers were engaged for the show. Kimberly Wright provided marketing support, and as this show was co-presented by The Wedge. And can I also acknowledge that we have Ron Darcy with us today, otherwise known as Pontius Pilate. And again, just like to acknowledge the fantastic performance that Ron made. And before closing, saying thank you to Darren and all those associated with the show. In the words of Leo O'Brien, thank you very much. Do we have any questions on notice, CEO?
None.
No delegates' reports? Moving on to item C2.1, Assembly of Councillors. Councillor Bai.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll try and get it right this time. I'd like to move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Council records for the period 10th of July 2019 to the 31st of July 2019.
I have a seconder of Councillor Stevens. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Bai, no need to speak to that. Moving on to item C2.2, Remuneration Committee minutes. Councillor Hull.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll move the council note and receive the minutes from the Remuneration Committee meeting held on the 16th of July 2019 as attached, and two, council endorse the action from the Remuneration Committee meeting held on the 16th of July as detailed in the attached minutes.
Thanks, Councillor Hull. Second of that motion was Councillor Crosley. If that motion is opposed, that motion is carried. Councillor Hull, just to speak to that.
Just briefly, Mayor. The Remuneration Committee meets quarterly, and its purpose is to have control over the budget of councillors. And as anybody who reads the minutes here today, see that we are a very well-running sort of a council, and if they compare us on the My Government document as on the web page, I find that we're also one of the cheapest.
Thanks, Councillor Hull. Moving on to item C3.1, removal of redundant public acquisition overlay in Rosedale. Councillor Marr.
I move that Council support the removal of the public acquisition overlay 2, PA02, applied to land in part at 65 to 67 Prince Street, 41 to 63 Prince Street, 37 Latrobe Street, 34 Albert Street, 36 Albert Street and 38 Albert Street, Rosedale, refer to attachment 1, from the Wellington planning scheme on the basis that it is no longer required for its originally intended purpose.
Second of that motion, Councillor Ripper. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
It was largely determined that this overlay was no longer required. Its original purpose was to provide vehicle access to shops fronting the Princess Highway. Landowners have been advised. The Planning Department has compiled a list of minor policy neutral anomalies that have been identified, of which this is one. These corrections can be fast-tracked under Section 24 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, and it's currently being prepared. Removal of this public acquisition overlay, which can be seen up there on the map, requires a formal council resolution supporting this proposal, and that's what we're doing.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. Moving on to item C3.2, Building Permit Report. Councillor Marr, I believe we have you again.
That's me. I move that Council note the report of building permits issued from the 1st of January 2019 to the 31st of March 2019.
Second for that motion, Councillor McCubbin. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Building permits are issued by private surveyors. Copies are forwarded to Council. At attachment 1, it provides an overview by township, by the number of permits issued at the town, as well as the estimated of cost of works. 217 permits were issued with a total amount just over $30 million. Works included construction of 4 broiler sheds at Winnendoo, 3-stage construction of the Yarram Medical Centre, that is certainly coming along nicely, demolition and construction of sheds at Hayfield for Delp, and a new school building at the Rosedale Consolidated Primary School, which was an upgrade and modernisation of their facilities, and I believe is a classroom and a library. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. We might move on to item C 3.3, the Debit Card Drought Initiative. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that Council allocate $1 million drought support funding it has included in its 2019-20 budget towards preloaded debit cards, each to the value of $700 for distribution to eligible Wellington Shire-based farmers. As part of Council's program of rolling these debit cards out to eligible farmers, we will seek their support and commitment that they will spend these funds within the Wellington Shire and, importantly, on our local businesses who are also feeling the impact of economic downturn attributed to the current drought.
The second of that motion, Councillor Hull. That motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. Today, the Wellington Shire has made history. This is the first time that this money of $1 million has ever been allocated to farmers. So I repeat, we have made history today. Now, all farmers are valued within the Wellington Shire. Council has implemented, since the drought has started, some say maybe 2-3 years. I'm not going to put a time on that because each farmer will have lives in a different area and they will have a different timeline. Some of those areas that the Wellington Shire have put in place is freezing the fees at the GRLC, Gippsland Regional Livestock, for the past 2 years. Temporary elimination of fees for the roadside grazing. Securing Commonwealth funding to deliver household water free of charge to farmers. Most importantly, 20%, that's 20% discount on farmers' rates. Various other drought relief community gatherings have been put in place, and I've visited quite a few of those within the areas, and that takes the place of sitting down, having tea, a beer, a chat, and listening to the farmers on what their needs are. Now, we've been working closely to find out how do we know what the farmers wanted. It's okay to say, you've got a debit card, that's what, and I'll get to that in the end. So how do we know? We know here, and I'm not sure if any of us in here, apart from in our gallery, are farmers. So we have staff working with the Council's Agricultural Industry Reference Group to find out, all those people out there, what do you want? We had thoughts, and this has gone on for quite a while, so it's not been a knee-jerk reaction that we think that's what they need. What we think, it's what they want. So that's what we have come up with, and I will read from here, if you will bear with me, because this is very important. The property is the property is greater than 40 hectares. The owner is registered with the Australian Tax Office as a primary producer. More than 51%, that's 51% of income is generated from the farming activity in a normal year of operation. The owners contribute more than 51% of their labour to the farming enterprise. Farmers who fulfil the criteria above as in, will be encouraged to complete a very basic and pre-populated statutory declaration form to receive the preloaded debit card. Now that is important, that I'm sure some of the farmers have filled out so many forms They've had it up to pussy's bow. I don't want another 4. So we are going to make it as easy as possible for them and stress-free. Moving on from there, all communications regarding this initiative will urge eligible farmers to shop locally to support Wellington-based traders. So it's not only farmers. I've been talking to shops and other industries that are doing it hard too. By the Wellington Shire allocating $1 million, we are hoping that the farmers will then in turn spend that within the Wellington Shire. So that then will help everyone within the Shire. So the proposed time frame is flexible because it is dependent on the time frames of third parties, providers such as the debit card manufacturers. So this is a proposed timeline. 7th of August, the Mayor writes to all known eligible farmers outlining the initiative. 30th of October, closing date to make application for the debit card. 31st of December, all expenditure to be completed. Card expires. Now, I would also like to thank, we've had a lot of workshops on this, and droughts aren't planned, and you have staff, and a lot of the staff have been working very hard at being in communication with the farmers. And I'm not going to pick out any one of those staff individually. I would like the managers to pass on, and the CEO, that they have gone over and above, and I have spoken to some of them. Thank you very, very much. This makes me very emotional because people have given their all for our very valued farmers within the Wellington Shire Council and all the other 2,000 people within the Wellington Shire. Through this debit card, we may be able to give them a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, and we pray that it rains. It's only water that has caused this. We want some. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ripper. Given the importance of this issue, the councillors like to speak to this matter. Anyone else?
I couldn't top that.
You're not going to follow it? Can I just say, just supporting everything that Councillor Ripper has said, the importance of this initiative and spending locally for those who remember Economics 101 and the multiplier effect. If we spend it locally, that money goes round and round and round our local economy. So it's a really important initiative put into the hands of the farmers in recognition that our whole community has been hurting as a result of the economic impact of this insidious drought. Moving on. Item C4.1, Cameron Sporting Complex Tender Award. I think I'm in your hands, Councillor Hole.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to move that Council adopt the recommendations contained in the attached confidential tender evaluation report at item F1.1 for contract 2019-062, the Cameron Sports Stadium redevelopment, and 2, that the information contained in the attached document item F1.1, contract 2019-062, Cameron Sporting Complex tender of this council meeting and designated under section 77 clause 2C of the Local Government Act of 1989 as confidential by the General Manager, Built and National Environment on the 31st of July 2019 because it relates to the following grounds under section 89.2 of the Local Government Act of 89, Part D, contractual matters, and be designated confidential information under section 77 clause 2B of the Local Government Act of 1989, except that once this recommendation has been adopted, the name of the successful tenderer can be made public.
Thanks, Councillor Hole. Seconded is Councillor Bai. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Do you wish to speak to that, or should I announce the successful tenderer first? And I'm going to do that. So the tender has been awarded to Brooker Builders Proprietary Limited. Councillor Hole, do you wish to speak further?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Well, this is an exciting day. it's taken 16 years to get it up to this stage where we're able to deliver this project. It's taken a lot of hard work and a lot of patience and very little anxiety from the committee, who just at the Cameron Sporting Complex, who were willing to wait their turn for the funds to become available. The stadium, when it becomes a finished new product in about 2021, we'll have a show court that's going to be probably one of the best in Gippsland. It'll be fully compliant so that the big major teams from Melbourne who want to come down for an exhibition matches, maybe play games for competition points, will be on a compliant court, and that is excellent. And there will be the 2 new courts that will house the local competitions and will currently hold their current status as being compliant because of their existence previously. One of the other side benefits, and probably the greatest side benefit, is the extension of the gymnastics centre. Currently the gymnastics centre has 400 registered competitors and a waiting list of about 100 was the last I heard, because they can't fit them all in. And now they're going to have this lovely extended new facility, or extended, yeah, well, I'm going to call it a new facility because it will be new. And there will be extra equipment added in because the height of the ceiling will be going up, and so there'll be more bouncy stuff and nobody's going to go up onto the ceiling. The funding has come from a wide source. We've had council contribute the money. We've had the Latrobe Valley Authority put money. Youth Sport and Recreation has put money. But the two I think I'd like to make more noise about is the local contribution. And the Mafra Basketball Association threw in $125,000 as their local commitment, and the Mafra Gymnastics Club also threw in $125,000 commitment. And so they now have skin in the game and have a great sense of ownership. The other issue I'd like to raise, and Councillor Ripper made mention in relation to the way our staff and our officers put together, only that drought relief, but also the work involved in bringing this particular building to fruition, because they had to work with government law, state law, EPA, contractors, subcontractors, and try to blend them all into a working team to be able to get here today to put the motion up for us to bring it to tender. Inside our offices here, each of the 4 departments have all had a big hand, a big say in making this become a reality. They've gone and looked at work at other places around Victoria where these the contractors who applied see what sort of quality work they did, and so we're very happy with the work. But one person from the staff, and I know we don't like to single out anybody, but I'm going to single out Sam Matthews. And in fact, Sam stands for Samantha. And she has worked so hard with all our departments, with the 10 people who comprise the Cameron Sporting Complex, here at Council to continue to keep us up to date. And the fact that we've got this fruition without friction has been terrific. And I hope that her General Manager will pass on our thanks and our well done best wishes, and we will look forward to having a celebratory party the day we have the official opening. So that, Mr Mayor, it's an exciting day for Mafra, and it's a complex that down the track will be a strong economic attractor in the way of people coming only to Mafra, But Sale, Hayfield, Scrapper, where people are going to want to stay and accommodate need. So for us here in Wellington Shire, it's going to be an attraction to why we're a great place to live, work, invest, play, and raise a family.
Thanks, Councillor Hole, and well done. And quite simply, with this and the earlier report, it's fair to say we only get good things done because we have such good people. So we move on to item C 5.1, Briagolong Recreation Reserve, Section 86, Committee of Management Minutes and Resignation. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that Council receive the minutes from the Briagolong Recreation Reserve Committee of Management's ordinary meeting held on the 8th of July 2019. Confidential member resignation, letter and response from the Briagolong Recreation Reserve Committee of Management. The information contained in the confidential attachment F1 to Briagolong Recreation Reserve of Management letter of resignation and letter of response from Briagolong Recreation Reserve Committee of Management of this council meeting agenda and designated under Section 77, Clause 2C of the Local Government Act 1989 as confidential by the General Manager, Community and Culture on the 25th of July 2019 because it relates to the following grounds under Section 89(2) of the Local Government Act 1989H. Any other matter which the Council or Special Committee considers would prejudice the Council or any other person be designated confidential information under Section 77 2B of the Local Government Act 1989.
Thanks, Councillor Ripper. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor McCubbin. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Ripper, do you wish to speak to that?
Yeah, Mayor, this is just to tidy up. As in all committees, we have people come on to committees and stay for a length of time and they resign, and this is just the procedure that we need to go through to get that person more or less off the books to allow someone else then to come on to the committee. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Ripper. We have no items of urgent business. I'm going to move on to item E, further gallery and chat room comments. If we'll just go through the preamble to that. Gallery comments are an opportunity for members of the public to raise any particular matter they wish. This allows those in the gallery to speak directly to councillors, but I reinforce it is not a forum designed for open discussion or debate. We will listen respectfully to what you have to say and make the commitment that the Mayor will respond to you in writing within 1 week if required, and a copy of that response will be circulated to all councillors. This is not a forum for members of the public to lodge complaints against any individual, including councillors and staff, particularly as that individual gets no public right of reply to any matter raised. I emphasise we take complaints seriously, and in line with the guidance from the Victorian Ombudsman and the Local Government Inspectorate, we request that any specific complaint against an individual be put in writing. This way your concerns can be properly dealt with while ensuring fairness to all parties concerned. If you wish to speak, we remind you that this part of the meeting is being recorded and broadcast on our website. Council's official minutes will record that you have spoken to Council and the subject you have spoken to Council about, but will not record specific comments. We ask you to state your name in full, where you are from, and there is a 3-minute time allocation. Do we have anyone who wishes to speak to Council?
John McClendon. I live at Longford, as most of you know. A couple of things. Climate change. I hear different reports of where Wellington Shire agrees with there is climate change. Others been negative reports about Wellington Shire's attitude to climate change. We'd just like to find out what is the overall view of Wellington Shire. Do they believe there is climate change or believe that there's no climate change? which way, can we get an answer to that for a start, please? Which way is council for agreeing with climate change or otherwise?
As we mentioned at the beginning, John, this is not, in fact, a situation where we're going to debate an issue, so we're not going to respond directly to that matter, but in accordance with the preamble to this session, we will, of course, respond in writing as we indicated that we would to that question.
It doesn't...
If you're looking, it's up to councillors if they wish to engage in this discussion. But I would recommend that we, in fact, run with our process. So,
well, that's disappointing that you're all here now. I mean, the last time I was here, I was asking about Adani site, about the Adani mine, and I know some of you are against Adani. As a council, I don't know where you stand, but what I'm trying to... And I thought we would have known by now, but you did say you would discuss it last time I was speaking, and that was last council meeting. So how long would it take to find out council's view on the Adani mine straight out? Years ago, can't quite too much, but I was... this would be debated. This would be debated in open council straight away and get some decision instead of this sort of hiding it under the carpet, so to speak. It's not very good. It just doesn't seem. Right. And there's so much time wasted and not coming to a decision, or don't you have it?
John, as I said, we hadn't proposed to debate the issue. I'm more than happy to express a very personal view on this matter, and that is that I don't believe that this matter sits currently within our jurisdiction. And running up to the federal election, we saw the impacts of people expressing a view from one state to another, which had a fairly interesting impact. So in regard to that, Council has not determined a position where it wishes to, in fact, advise another tier of government what position it ought to be taking.
Thank you for that, but we do understand one or two of the councillors at least are against Adani themselves. And what I'm saying in that, could the council or the councillors make a sign for me to take the camera to against Adani? I'll take it there, that's where it needs to go, to the federal government, ministers and the opposition. I mean, this big thing in Brisbane today, there's a lot of people against it. Overall, I would say, wouldn't be 5% of people in Australia in favour of that Adani mine. But here we are, just laying back, doing nothing. We should be ashamed of ourselves. The world will be laughing at us, giving our coal away, affecting the barren reef, the environment, not supporting the farmers up there. The farmers are worried about, but they don't have any power because of the decision of the ministers. But look, I'm sorry that I'm very deaf and I haven't got my glasses today. But I just asked him if some of you could find some heart to make a sign for me to take the camera, whatever you decide that's going to be. Stop Adani, or why give our coal away, whatever.
John, do you have any other issues you want to raise now? Is that the only issue you wish to raise? Because we're probably well up to our 3 minutes.
Well, thanks for all the time, but we'd just like you to, if I could get an answer today, later on, if somebody would be good enough, or some of you, find some funds to make a sign for me, help me make a sign. I'll get the materials to make them, or you get the materials. So, I'm just speaking to the council, I think, Mr. So that's only two things. About making the sign to take to Canberra. I've got enough on anyway, and thanks Thanks very much for the info about the drought. We might hear on the radio tomorrow more about that. But I'm deaf and I can't hear too much. But and the other question, of course, is how are we going to get an answer from council on climate change? And that's been around a long time, and it just looks to me as if we're just too slow, half asleep, all of us.
John, I just might respond to that. As you might be aware, the state government is in fact now engaging in some issues in regard to the marine and coastal environment. There's a discussion paper out on that. We're looking to respond to that. So we're active in this space, and I could refer you to a council plan. So there is council's position in regard to a number of these matters. So you could digest that if you so desire. But I think that's probably it in terms of time allocation.
Thank you anyway. If we get something in writing on both those matters,
We'll undertake to respond as we said at the very outset. So we'll respond to you in writing in the usual way.
the Adani business may not have long to wait. We have to be quick on that if you're against it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak to council?
Thank you, Mayor. My name's Keith Mills, proud farmer from Crooked River, and this wasn't part of my original thing because I wasn't aware of it, but thanks for the council for the effort they've made in supporting our farmers. It'll be very much appreciated. But today I'm here on a local matter at Crooked River, and that's our road. It used to be called the Crooked River Road, now it's known as Wannangatta Road. And I will thank Councillor Bai for approaching me just at the outset of the meeting to let me know that a response to an inquiry I'd put in has been prepared. Just it had trouble obtaining my email address, which I've just now provided. So thanks for that. But basically I want to say on behalf of, I would say, pretty much all the road users, so locals and visitors, that the work that's been done there is magnificent. I've been using that road regularly for 47 years and it's never been better. In fact, it is probably magnitudes better than it's ever been before. Thanks to all the staff for what they've done. But I was reflecting on what's happened up there, and I was thinking about Foot Rot Flats, which was a comic book thing that was done by Murray Ball out of New Zealand, but very popular in Australia. And one episode, one of the magazines that came out with a group of cartoons had a picture on the front, and it was, they've put custard with my bone. The dog wasn't happy. Of course, the bone was a good bit. The dog loved the bone, and I liken the bone to the lovely new road we've got. The custody bit is the sad bit that it's not been completed. And I'm aware of your comments at the outset, Mayor. I'm not looking to direct any negative comments to any particular person, but all of us in the area feel it's a bit sad that the whole of the road wasn't completed. The first 19 kilometres has been done, but we've been informed by the contractors that the remaining 4 kilometres needs to be tendered for the next financial year. And given that all the equipment was on site, and it's a relatively small section that's being carried over to the next budget allocation, I presume, we feel that there's a wastefulness. And we all feel that it would be good if there'd be some way that the process that occurs within council budgeting and so forth could see that the whole job was, given that the majority's been done, it's not 50-50, it's a majority, and a really small minority could be all sort of taken care of with the one tender. Vehicles going up and down a long distance. I also think back to the energy savings that councils have attained by switching to LED lights instead of the old-fashioned lights. And then I wonder how much fuel has been burnt up by those vehicles having to go back, and then someone else or the same team come back again to take up the next tender. So the wastefulness there is something that we're concerned about. There's another small bit in that the 19 kilometres that's been completed is fantastic, bar a little section from around about the 2.5 to the 4.5 kilometre mark, where there doesn't seem to have been any material hardly put on the road. And with all the trucks working up past that area, there are now 2 under-road pipes that have been worn down to the pipe itself, and the concrete's been broken out of the pipes, and all that's left is exposed reinforcing wires and a hole underneath are roughly a foot deep. So I don't know how that came to be missed out. I don't know if it's part of the design that the council team put in place or what's gone on there, but we feel that that's letting the side down a little bit. That's a bit of custard with the bone there. So I'm happy to leave the comment there, but the overall assessment is fantastic job. We've waited a heck of a long time, but it's terrific, and I can see that what has been done will serve that road very well for quite a considerable time, and it should only need hopefully just minor amounts of money spent on it to keep it up to scratch.
Thanks, Mr Mills. In accordance with the normal practice, we of course will respond to you as we've indicated at the outset, and I still have a response to you in regard to that matter.
Yes, and I think Councillor Boy has that in hand even. He indicated at the
You've got
outset.
it already. Quicker than me, Councillor Boy. There you go.
But,
well done.
If there's anything else I've raised in this presentation, I'll be happy to have that added to the response that's coming.
Okay, yeah, we've noted every element of that presentation. Yeah. Thanks, Mr Mills.
Thank you, Mayor.
If there's no other contributions from the gallery, I'll take this opportunity at 20 minutes to 4 to declare the meeting closed.